I haven't made a video in a while. My bad. So anyways, we're going to review the Hypothesis V2 from Thesis. Love the packaging, you know. On the side, it's got these lines here that shimmer, and it's got the Thesis logo. And then inside, you get the Yoyo. And I should probably say, I didn't get this brand new. Like, I didn't get it off of a retailer or anything. I bought it off of my friend, who is a member of Thesis. He's a member of the Thesis team. I was really excited when I got this, because the Hypothesis V2... I don't have a Hypothesis V1, by the way. You know, I wish I could do a comparison video, but I can't. Maybe sometime in the future. But the Hypothesis V2 is good. You know, as most modern yo-yos are. But let's talk about the design for a minute. In terms of the actual design of most Thesis yo-yos, they're all really minimalist, and they all like don't have this. They don't go completely flashing crazy with their designs, you know. Like, you don't got something like the Colossus, where it's got all these cuts and curves, and then you look in the cup, and it's just like, whoa. They don't do any of that. They don't do anything wild. The design aspect of the Hypothesis that I wish more companies did is these little ski jumps right here, which is... The Wish does these little ski jumps as well. Just these little things here are really nice, and not enough companies use these ski jumps, and I wish more of them did, because they look really, really nice. If I were to say, though, I would say just round this off right here. So this little line right here, I would say just don't even let that be like a cut. Round that off. I think that would make it just... Ooh. Other than that, though, this is a fairly wide yo-yo. Alright, so here it is, Peregrine side by side with the Hypothesis. The Peregrine is already a decently wide yo-yo by modern standards, you know. You can really see it here. The Wish is a fairly normal, like, it's fairly average width. I believe it's about 43, and, you know, maybe a little bit under average. Comparing these two, their width, Hypothesis has a little bit more width. Definitely like the curvature a bit more, and they have almost the exact same diameter. For whatever reason, the Hypothesis looks bigger than the Peregrine. I'm a big fan of this design. There are a couple things, though, you know, just round that out. These edges here on the rims they can be a little bit sharp on the catch. They're not sharp to the touch. It's not like an Alta or Duncan Orbital. Another thing is with this cup, we have a lot of vacant space. And while I definitely don't like super noisy, like, you know, shutter type cups, it would still be nice if there was, you know, just something in here, maybe even just a nipple. But maybe that's just my Wish bias coming out, because I love nipples and yo-yos. There is one small detail, and it's on every Hypothesis, V1 or V2. And it's this small little engraving. And I don't know if the camera will be able to catch it, because it's really tiny. It's a really, really tiny detail. It's like, it's small. It's small. All the V1s, they just say Thesis. But all the V2s, depending on the colorway you get, it's a specific engraving. The gold-colored Hypothesis V2 has a bar of gold. The blue one has, I think it's a blue raspberry. I think the green one with silver rims has a little leaf on it. This is the rose colorway, so it has a little rose right there. Whoever decided to do that over at Thesis, I implore you, we should start doing stuff like that more. Just that tiny little detail. When I opened the box and when I looked at it, I thought it was like a dirt mark or something. No, it looks so good. And it's such a small detail, and you can't see it in play, so I guess it doesn't matter, but it's so cool to me. I think that's so cool, and I wish we had more yo-yos that did that, on God. Looks aside, you probably want to know how this plays. I'm gonna tell you how this thing plays after I go play with it for a minute, so Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay. I just finished playing with all of these here. So just to give a little background on what we're looking at on my desk right now. This is the Iceberg Classic. This is the Peregrine. This is the Wish. This is the KO. This is the Shutter. And this is the Hypothesis V2, but you already knew that because you're watching this video. Let's talk about how the Hypothesis plays and compares to everything else on here. And now let's start with my baseline, the Shutter. Okay, so here's the deal. The Hypothesis is very light. It makes the Shutter feel like it's a brick, basically. So in comparison to the Shutter here, right, the Hypothesis is about on par with power, but in speed and control, nothing compares. The Shutter is just, you can't go at the speeds that you can with the Hypothesis with the Shutter. You just can't. If you're like me and you're like, you just want to go as fast as you can, as often as you can, and you're like, well, you know, Shutter, Hypothesis, there's not even a competition between these two in the Hypothesis. I'm going to set the Shutter aside. And in respect to speed, in my collection, I've had this Iceberg for a long time. A really long time. And this has always been my go-to for speed. In my eyes, the Iceberg has always been the speed breaker, you know? Hypothesis blew it away. They're close in speed, but the control the Hypothesis has beats the Iceberg. Like, you just have more control. You can stop quicker, you can accelerate quicker, and you have more control over that curve than you do with the Iceberg. And I feel like it's because the Iceberg is nothing but rim weight. This is a polycarbonate yo-yo with stainless steel rims, and I can guarantee almost all the weight in this yo-yo is in these rims. If you took those rims off, that'd probably be it, and maybe these hubs. The Hypothesis goes a little bit faster, and you have a little bit more control, but you don't have as much power, which I think lends to the more control you have with the Hypothesis. Because, you know, it's easier to stop when you don't have that extra power moving and pushing the yo-yo further. Setting the Iceberg aside now, let's compare the Peregrine and the Hypothesis. So, out of these two, I prefer the Hypothesis. I'm just gonna be honest. It's a softer catch here, and it's a much more natural shape with the Hypothesis. It just fits in the hand better, in my opinion. Competition, like bleeding edge yo-yo here, like you got this V shape here with these thick rims. And in that respect, the Peregrine, just to be honest, isn't as fast as the Hypothesis V2. It just isn't. It has less control. These two yo-yos are similar in kind of just how they play overall. The Peregrine is a very, very fast yo-yo, but in turn, relative to the Hypothesis, it's just not as fast. The Peregrine weighs more, so it's going to be more powerful, and you're going to have less control. So overall, just more power, less control. Maybe someone else could push this faster, but head to head, like A being, I could just get the Hypothesis revved up and going. I couldn't get it to stop. It was so fast, and I loved it. Just I had more control over it than the Peregrine. So I've been talking about this control this whole time, and I haven't even mentioned my KO. KO is, in comparison to the Hypothesis, there's just more control here. The KO kind of forces you to play slower. I'm gonna be honest, it's not a very fast playing yo-yo. You can get it to play fast, but if I tried doing the speed that I do on the Hypothesis with the KO, it would just lose its axis completely. It would just yeah, there's more power in the KO, honestly. With that, I'm gonna set this aside. Now, the two yo-yos in my collection that I love the most are on your screen right now. They play close-ish. It's basically just a flavor of the day type deal. There's a little bit more control, a little bit more power, and maybe a hair less speed in the Wish. But if I'm in a mood where I just want to go fast, you know, most of the time when I'm like deciding what to do, it's like, oh, do I want to go with my Wish and just like enjoy myself and just do my combos and like practice a routine, or with the Hypothesis, where do I just want to go as fast as I can? And in that regard, the Hypothesis in speed is my favorite yo-yo in my collection. I'm going to set the Wish aside now, and I'm going to finish this video here. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye-bye.